for me it's very important for me to never even let these clowns delude themselves in any fashion that I doubt myself. I don't understand what they're doing and what this is about. A lot of them are like very childlike individuals, so there's a bright future of foulness coming to their way that I'll really put that in the air, and I know it's going to happen. And I just want them to understand. No, well, not even to understand, to prep themselves that if you do this gaslighting in person, please don't be surprised. If you're surprised at that point, you just is something else. They've been falsifying memories and recreating memories, and then then tell me how I'm gonna be torturing this fashion. I'm like, I'll run to that torture. I'm gonna stretch. Let's go stretch. You clown. You think that's gonna make me identify with this? And they act in this fanatical way in hope that that's gonna make you accept this manipulation and this falsification of even your memories. Putting narrative and things in your brain, in your memory, so they're like, yeah, die, go stretch for it. It's like, let's go stretch for it, piece of shit. You thought that's gonna make me identify with this bullshit that you're implanting in my brain? I was literally listening to these governmental entities with issue pedophilia, and they would try to bring up things that they try to alter in different fashion. For example, this is one of many memory manipulation, and they do the same fashion in so many like similar ways. Listen, I know one thing is for sure: before you start getting manipulated, there's a campaign of slander that's happening. There's like a pre-implementation that starts. Pre-implementation of the manipulation, and before you even realize what really happens. You know things are weird, but you don't understand what's happening. And so, in that case, a lot of falsification is happening. They already start presenting you as somebody who is a threat to children. A lot of time that's the case they use, and that's the slander they use. So for me, manipulation of my mind started on August 19, 2019. But before that, I knew something was off. Now, I can speak about how they're presenting this slanderous stuff, but I know there was a campaign specific to that. They bring me back to when I went back to like this third world country where I'm actually originally from. I don't speak the language very well there, but I try. I can understand a little bit. As I'm saying that they try to change it to something else. But my language, I have a bit of a language difficulty from my homeland country language. And I remember we went to some place like almost like some kind of, not in a city, and there was like a woman with like a very young child coming in. This little girl was so adorable. She spoke that language in such a well way. She spoke way better than me, and she talked like she was like a little woman. She's a baby, like maybe 3-4 years old, talking like she's a grown woman. Say, hey, how you doing? In the language, how are you? How's everything? How's life? Yeah. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, oh, this is so adorable. This baby talking like and you're having a conversation with a grown woman. I'm like, what? Yelling from afar, hey Josephine, how's everything? And I remember looking at that, like, and they said that they tried to change. And looking at her, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so adorable. And I'm smiling. And next to me, there was somebody who obviously now they participate. And he was looking at me smiling to laughing, like kind of like cringy, like smiling, like. And I was like, this is so adorable. And I'm looking at him, and I was like, this is. It's like I can't even speak like a quarter of how she speaks that language. Now, what's happening now? It's like, yeah, first of all, they're adding stimulation. Oh, you felt that sensation. Yeah, 3-4 years old, some shit. They try to create stimulation, which I didn't experience. But then they're like, yeah, but they're reviewing your brain and they notice you felt something there. It's like, yeah, right. First of all, I don't know what they were presenting. I don't know what slanderous thing was happening. I know they were doing something slanderous, but I know what I experienced. It was none of these nasty things that they're implanting in my brain. Now, none of these things that I'm forced to experience today that makes me almost hate children because of how they manipulate my brain. I know that was a wholesome, adorable, thing that I was saying that they try to even change into something else. And this trash want to change it into a memory with stimulations. And this trash like, yeah, you're gonna scratch for that, you're gonna pay for that. Shut up. Let's go. You think I'm gonna identify with this many falsified memories? That's all they've been doing. Everywhere there's black little girls in my memories, they put stimulations. And then try to bring up, no, but the people who are perps, they saw that. I was like, trash, I know there was a slanderous campaign happening before. There's like some kind of defamation, try to paint you in this fashion. So if they were doing that, I don't care. I know it was slanderous, but I know what I experienced. One thing is for sure, I know this trash are not here protecting children and investing in you. They're looking at how they can manipulate your brain. And before that, they slander you. And in my brain, like, no, but there's still something deep down inside. I was like, shut up. What I'm experiencing today, it was not experienced then. What you're planning to do, I'm sure it was in the works. And this is something that I will never be able to experience today without getting the stimulation that you want me to have. And once again, another falsified memory. They've done the same thing when I was like watching a documentary and I was like smiling how adorable this thing was, wholesome was. It's like, yeah, no, they were looking at studying this. Like, yeah, it's like, shit. Yeah. They already know what you're going to do to me. They knew that shortly this is going to be changed. This is going to be changed to something else. And now my brain is rewired, which aka they say they're mapping. At one point, like, it was dormant. You weren't feeling it, but it was dormant somewhere there. And do you know, as they try to make me think this way, I was listening to these governmental entities with the clear pedophilia issue. Actually, the same year that that this was happening, the DOD was being ranked top tier child porn traffickers. And you hear this clown here. It's like, yeah, no, we are, yeah, awkward. It's like, yeah, it's awkward that the top tier pedals were actually analyzing me, trash, as they were slandering me. They are falsifying what was being experienced. They're painting me in such nature that's actually projecting. I rather die in hell, but I'm not going to allow this trash involving what you're going to hear. Working for these governmental entities, falsifying memories, and then want me to be identified because of how I'm going to be tortured. You fucking trash. Talking about just stay strong and don't identify with this memories, manipulation, falsification, and current experiences, and know who you are.
That we're not going to get graphic or anything, but we're just going to talk about what some of these allegations are. And really the big story behind this CIA report, well, one of the stories is the lack of story. The fact that BuzzFeed reported on this, good for them. But obviously it was covered up by intelligence agencies and it has not been reported on widely. The Federalist reported on it. Some other journalists talked about it, but you probably didn't even hear about it. I only heard about it the other day, several days after it had been originally reported. And the fact that this isn't a huge bombshell that everyone is talking about is really disturbing. What is it? Are we just used to this kind of child sexual abuse? Has it become normalized? Has it become sterilized in some way that we just don't really want to talk about it? I do also wonder if any mention of pedophilia in the ranks of the intelligence world or in the ranks of the government or in the powers that be has been so cleverly associated with conspiracy theory over the past several years. And part of it is because there are conspiracy theorists like QAnon conspiracy theorists who push ridiculous things that have also made it more difficult for people to raise actual allegations of pedophilia and sex trafficking and child sex abuse. But I do wonder if some propagandists in the media have done such a good job of tying any allegations of sex trafficking and pedophilia to conspiracy theories that most people just don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be seen as some Pizzagate QAnon person. And that in itself is evil. But the fact of the matter is that this is something that is going on. This is something that has gone on. So the loss of credibility that intelligence agencies have garnered over the past several years is something that they have brought on themselves. And this is the straw on the camel's back.
Experimental fact. Frog muscle contract physical.
The child porn on the Pentagon servers.
Come on.
Bro, so supposedly they found more child porn on the Pentagon servers than they found on any servers.
Could there be
consistently watchdog
space however you want, and you certainly don't have the right to use it in a criminal manner. So essentially, this bill is trying to
is a shameful disgrace, and one we must fight head-on, Spanberger said in a statement. According to child pornography watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services, the Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of Internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018. Meta
Agency. Others also work at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Others also work.
Two-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general evil?
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
the CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children? And they're not being prosecuted? Where are you?
Has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flickr, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who are being recognized as the ones who are perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, "The notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head-on." Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a Department of Defense office or it's the offices at RT America, wherever you go into an office, you do not
made to smell various things.
Microwave radiation to control human behavior. To control the brain. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. Human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
Of innocent citizens being controlled by government-sanctioned experiments? Is Cheryl Welch telling the truth, or are her claims absurd? Just another conspiracy theory that's impossible to prove? Maybe. But not if you listen to Nick Begich.
I think there's some good evidence that Cheryl Welch and many of the other people I've spoken with have been victimized by this electromagnetic mind control experiments. The weapons of this century aren't bombs and bullets and ordnance, but electromagnetic energy targeting the human being, which is a greatest revolution in military affairs since gunpowder.
Begich is an expert in government mind control. He is convinced the Pentagon has mastered a technology once thought to be science fiction, the ability to broadcast information directly into the human brain.
Our government began spending a lot of time looking at how to modify behavior of human beings. Going back to the Korean War, in fact, in a publication, Low-Intensity Conflict in Modern Technology, they have a chapter on electromagnetic weapon systems, being able to not just to debilitate someone, but actually even to stimulate certain activities within the brain.
But how?
HARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, which started as a joint effort of the Air Force and Navy. This is a very large array or field of antennas based in Alaska, radio frequency antennas.
HARP antennas transmit powerful radio signals into the upper atmosphere to study the effects on wireless communications. But Begich says HARP can also be used for more sinister ends.
HARP has announced several other programs and campaigns, and there's two areas that I got very concerned about. One was weather modification applications. The other was the effect on human beings. If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response, the brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just to be about triggering emotions. You could change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to the idea of thoughts and being able to manipulate those, that requires a different kind of sophistication.
It's called offensive information
radiation, non-ionizing radiation for the use of cognitive control or behavior control. I've submitted a paper to you, and there's another paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City, alluding to the same thing.
You do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War. You can call it a eugenics program even. But also walk them to their... They want to see if they can... Hyper game theory. How do you... They want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control the brain? Most people don't believe that. Well, you can't control me. I have my own free will.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa.
They use these monarch-style torture programs, like it's based on sex and trauma. So they're gonna traumatize you. They're gonna use your libido to get back at you, and
this technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
Experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and form of torture. They coordinate the voice. I really mean extreme. I experienced an entire night with forced spontaneous orgasms repeatedly all through the night, one right after another, with maybe around 1 hour of sleep or so, as I lay immobilized in my bed.
In my mind, I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to me and my family. Ben said the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continue. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Information is written.
Pedophilia type of images and videos. I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
Be my guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly. It's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can,
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds.
Personalities.
And it's like Chinese torture. I mean, okay, so.
So this gets into creating Manchurian candidates, split personality, and information curtains, satanic ritual. Okay, so they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's. So they'll say we're the V2K. So they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse, and I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
It's already being used. I mean,
if you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape and forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
You feel that you've been injustice? You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me? Well, in terms of your being a victim. You mean what I'm feeling? Yeah, explain a little bit to me how you perceive yourself as being. I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, "How do I know you didn't do that to yourself?" How do you even address that? I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1, but 2. The one physician said, "You're mentally sound as a bell." He said, "I don't have any idea what's going on with you." When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock of my rectum. I get electric shock up my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering. Does that answer your question? I'm trying to find what's the source of the... The source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2970, but if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Buckner, and I have been a targeted individual for a very long time. The things I have experienced due to being targeted, they have been unreal. But however, I can personally attest that this is very real indeed. My life has been destroyed in every possible way, and every day has been a struggle for me. I'm very grateful to be before you today due to Amy Anderson's due diligence and to everyone else involved. I thank you, council members, for giving us targeted individuals a chance to speak and to be heard. And I pray that these atrocities will soon be brought to an end. But we need your help. Thank you.
Alex.
Military medical research. I too believe my experience is referred to as no-touch torture, utilizing defense technologies. Jonathan Reno, he basically predicted all this a number of years ago in his book Undue Risk.
Face, and it was an older guy. He was like really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you're gonna get shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Gonna get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voice of Skull, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them?
So, yesterday I went to the beach and drank a couple of beers and just sat down there after laying in bed and sobbing for 2 hours because the private parts of my body were being burned and my breasts are removed. And
acceptable for the government to be watching and for teenagers to be sexually assaulted and raped, which is what happened to me. That
had attacked really and
but it's hell at you, which starts to everybody is all the time, and so it discredits your character and your state of mind, which starts to make everybody believe something's wrong with you, and then you start believing something's wrong with you, but it's not you, and that it's not you. It's just hard to prove. But don't go get mental health help. Don't see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Most of the time they're involved too. Your police are involved, your firemen, ambulance, people at hospitals, they're all involved. And it's unfortunate that we live in a society that gets a kick out of doing people like that. But it is what it is. The only thing you can do is stay strong and focus on the people you love. I was lucky enough to have my mother who was going through the same thing that I was going through. They started saying all kind of crazy stuff to her at her jobs, and
I am a victim of organized stalking, electronic harassment, microwave torture, V2K abuse, and I'm asking you to help us end this crime against humanity, which has impacted men, women, children all around the world.
Hi, I'm Wan from Malaysia. My family are targeted individuals. We are victims of cyber torture. And I will not give up. I will fight to the end.
And I'm a victim of organized
We
stalking,
need this to stop.
electronic
That's it.
harassment, and I'm speaking to you on International Targeted Individual Day. I live in the U.S., in Illinois, and I'm a victim of organized
We
stalking,
need this to stop.
electronic
That's it.
harassment, microwave torture,
I've been targeted for 9 years.
24/7.
Please become more aware of this crime and those that the crime is being committed against. We need your support and help in ending this crime.
Hello, my name is Wendy Brown. I'm a targeted individual who is living in New Zealand, but my targeting began in California. I'm an American citizen, and the targeting continues in New Zealand. I'm making this video in remembrance of Targeted Individual Day, our third annual Targeted Individual Day. And I'm asking that every honest-hearted human being open their eyes to a crime.
My name is Jeanette. I am 56 years old and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a victim of covert electronic harassment and torture. I am a targeted individual.
Hello.
Why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. It's brutally painful. I have a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions. I observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe
and have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children.
Stalkers.
And coin some.
Even presidents get prosecuted if they commit crimes. But the reality is, my government has protected my abusers and even caused them to abuse me. And that since I was a child, when I was a child. And just like feeling like those ugly, helpless feelings, like I couldn't protect myself when I was 5, and like feeling like a lot hasn't changed since then, and some things have changed, you know, some things have changed, but just like those feelings of helplessness, of like not being able to really help myself. Hey, looking at myself in the camera's helping, but I'm having bad PTSD. Just that mostly means that, well, I guess it's not regular PTSD because the back of my neck is being vibrated on and it's making my hands and feet numb and my whole body shake. And I revert to like some mentality of like a 4 or 5-year-old. I don't think it's PTSD, but I don't know what else to call it exactly. I just feel vibrations on my head and my voice, and my thoughts aren't like a person my age when this happens to me. But I just feel afraid. And I to do, and I wish this would stop happening to me, and I wish that I was allowed to have help and be okay, and I don't think anyone's really allowed to help me, or they get into trouble. And that was true when I was little, too. I'm just not coping very good. I don't feel like everything is alright. I shouldn't have to go through the same things as I did when I was little. I sent the Department of Justice a cease and desist and told them that they're acting in coercion with the entities and people that child sex trafficked me. And then I wondered if I wanted to, if it was safe, or if I was having bad psychology to send it, like, because it made me feel like I was putting myself in more danger. But I just felt like I had to send it, and maybe I think there's someone good on the other side of the letter that would say, oh, this is bad, or I don't know. I'm afraid maybe that's not true, and it's just gonna get me killed. It's hard to tell the system that they do bad things, because it always wants to believe that it's good. It wants to believe that I'm shaking, that I'm bad and the system is good. And the system has raped me and done bad things to me so that it could say that I'm bad. And it's good. Like, if something really bad happens to me, it means more really bad things will have to happen so that the system can say it's my fault. Because the system has to be good and believe that it's good. And so that means I have to be bad if it does something bad to me. Disabled. Pray for me, please.
Hey, I just woke up after a pretty rough night. The same thing happened last night. It was whenever I was trying to go to sleep, the private parts of my body began being burned again, and it felt like someone pushing out something inside of my body. So yeah, that's what I am up against today. But the abuse last night was pretty extreme. And your mouth feels just like my teeth are like pressed forward, and I don't know. It's a lot of strange things. I've been doing some research, I guess what it's called, organized stalking. I'm called a targeted individual. But the abuse last night was pretty extreme. I can feel it's going to be the same again today. Already on the harming of the private parts of my body. Don't really know what to do. I tried to go to a doctor to get some kind of pain medicine because what actually happens to me, what is happening to me is my actual physical body is being burned. And so it causes me to go into shock, and it's excruciatingly painful. And I have my limitations on the duration and length of pain that I can handle. So it was a couple of weeks ago, I asked him what he was doing there, and he said that I needed to stay in my room. And I asked why, and he said that essentially they wanted to keep an eye on me for a while. And I was like, okay, for how long? And he was like, well, we haven't decided that yet. And I was like, all right, well, I'm leaving. But it definitely felt like if I talk about what's happening to me, that I'm being retaliated against. And I know the logical mind is like, well, everyone can't be involved. But it seems that, I don't know, if the government has the right to watch and the proper paperwork, just walk right in and take over a hospital. And it seems that that is a very real reality in a lot of capacities of the things that I've faced. So today, just kind of just feeling some pretty general fear about my own safety, because the government's burning the private parts of my body. Sometimes it feels like a laser.
People's
To control.
just like feeling like those ugly, helpless feelings, like I couldn't.
So this gets into creating Manchurian candidates, split personality, and information curtains, satanic
Valuations
Must be stopped. People's lives at risk. They affect men, women, and children. Many have died already.
Human